thank you for being a part of the podcast. I appreciate you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I was definitely wanting to talk to you about a lot of the stuff that it seems like you have going on. And I know that we had like a very broad introduction through the coffee retreat this past year. And I know that we didn't get a chance to really sit and talk and like get to know each other. So
yeah, it was kind of last day.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't that long for all of us to talk either. So yeah, I wanted to get to know you more, and I wanted to ask you about like what you've got going on. Just tell me a little bit about you. Like what brought you into the coffee industry? Like what's making you want to stay? Like what in general like got you on the journey of being in the coffee world?
Okay, that's a great question. Why I want to stay. Okay, so I started in coffee about 10 years ago. I'm sort of like a late bloomer. Mm-hmm. I worked in graphic design and communications for a long time. And then sort of like chance, I got involved with someone who was in the coffee business. They were part of my family and they ran a coffee business in Quito. I am based in Quito, Ecuador. And I was kind of looking for a few months, I was like, oh, I like this. Why don't I open a coffee shop? It was like, sounded like a great idea at the moment. I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
To be honest.
There's probably so much.
It's not easy. I was pregnant with my second kid at the moment. So now that I look back,
yeah,
it's like, what was I thinking?
That's a lot to take on.
Yeah, it's like, who would think? I had a full-time job, and then I decided to open this cafe in Quito. At the time, it was like all the specialty coffee world was super new. It is still new here. We've been producing coffee for forever, but it's like coffee was meant to leave the country, to go somewhere else. It was not meant for us to drink it. At least not coffee as maybe you and me and people in the specialty coffee business know it.
Right.
It's like, it's a coffee culture, but the coffee we've been drinking is, let's say, my colleagues wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And now I understand why. I can tell you more about it later. But yeah, so I got like into this business, and when I opened, it was like, of course, way larger than I imagined. So it occupied a large part of my life. I quit my job and I dedicated full time to it and to having kids.
Right. Because that is also a full-time job.
Full-time, like the full-time that my kids left.
Working technically 3 full-time jobs, being a mom and opening a place.
Something like that. But this place sort of became my learning space. You know, it's like I had a place where I could just experiment and do whatever I thought was best at the moment. And that has changed over time. I remember the coffee I used to sell 9 years ago, and it's like, what? I wouldn't sell it now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. What I thought at the moment was like the best I could offer. So that was like my learning space, and it still is. I guess it's still the space where I can like basically do whatever I want. Then I started like trying to learn more about quality. I don't know what like got me into cupping and sensory analysis that really caught my attention. And I think I felt I was sort of, I don't know, like good for it. You know, it's like, it was easy for me to cup, to when people were talking about, oh, this coffee tastes like, I was like, yeah. Yeah. So that's what like I started learning more. So I started copying, training, then I became a curator. And then I worked for a large coffee exporting company for a while. That was like my way of basically cupping more. I wanted to cup more coffee.
Right.
In Botanica, in my cafe, it was like I bought, so it was like I could cup once every 3 months. You know, it's like I didn't have to cup much coffee.
Yeah.
So this job for me was a great opportunity to, like, I thought that was going to be the big thing, and yes, I learned a lot. But it also connected me to coffee on a different level. I started like building relationships, like in a wider, it was more than coffee. Coffee was okay. That's what we do. It could have been grapes or pickles or whatever. It was coffee. It was like, but all the things that happen around it, it's a world that just like opened for me. And I guess like especially like the people, and I don't want to say like, yeah, the people in the business is what keeps me around. You know, it's like I hear that a lot, you know, it's like the coffee community. Or the lives of producers. And it's like, yes, but on different levels. I think when you work in a producing country, you get to see the dynamics of the business, of the industry, and you get to see like an X-ray of all the levels, all the stages. Before I started working there, I started judging barista championships.
Okay.
So I would like travel and have espressos and listen to baristas talk about their coffees and who produced them. And I love it. It's like, it's a wonderful part of this huge world, but somehow I feel like there is like a connection that's missing there. For
between
me,
the barista?
Like it's not like that baristas are disconnected or the WBC is disconnected. Right. It's just you learn a lot about coffee, about people. You also make connections and meaningful connections there. I think they are great spaces for sharing in general. You know, it's like sharing different experiences, but just like from somehow like a small perspective or a different one that you can have when you work buying coffee, when you are like working with people that produce coffee. And like, I think one of the things that made me start questioning everything was the fact that all that I loved, like copying and sensory analysis and finding crazy flavors and recognizing acidity and
like the actual product.
it's like all that sensory part that is beautiful actually comes with so much responsibility and with so much, it's so important for these people that are not involved in that process. So it's like producers like bring their coffee and buyers cup, and as pleasant that activity may be, it's like, oh, I love cupping. You cup a lot of coffee. Then you have to put a price on that coffee. It's like you are cupping to set the price that you are willing to pay for that coffee. And from the beginning, it started like, I was like, something is not okay here. Yeah. How is it that I get to set the price for something that I don't know what it took to produce? It's like, in any other product or any other business activity, I guess there may be something like out there that I don't know of, but where do you go and say, hey, I want this pair of shoes and I'm willing to pay this much because I think they are medium quality, so I don't think they will last long, so I'm just going to pay you this much for them. Nowhere, it's like, or if you go to the grocery store, or if you go, like, it's crazy that the one that is going to buy the coffee is the one in charge of setting the price.
Yeah, it's backwards.
It's like, what? And it's been like this for a while, like forever. And that's the way, like the whole industry, it's like, yeah. And people are all the time saying, oh, I paid more for this coffee, or I paid a premium, or we are paying better. But are you asking them how much do you want for your coffee? Like, how many of all these companies that are like communicating to their consumers that they are paying more are actually changing the dynamics of the negotiation?
Yeah.
How many of them are saying, okay, I like your coffee, please let me know how much? It doesn't happen too often. So I still had my own business, and I was like, I myself was doing that before, it's like I was also guilty of, hey, I'm going to pay you this much, because that's the way I learned.
Yeah.
And then there was a time when I said, no, I just can't anymore. And now I will always ask, how much do you want for this coffee? And we can provide quality analysis services that is like independent, and I can be totally transparent and honest about the quality of a coffee. And it's hard. Some people will still follow the same dynamics. Producers, it's like, I don't know, you tell me, how much are you willing to pay? Because everyone, that's the way they are used to sell their coffee. And I don't know your costs. I don't know your needs. It's like setting a price shouldn't come from the buyers, anything, it's like, how bad do you need that coffee? Then maybe you are willing to pay a bit more because that's the only coffee that will fit a specific need you have. But you will never show that to the producer.
Right.
It's a fucked up dynamics. So I think that's what I've been up to, like, lately, thinking, how can I contribute to change that? That's pretty big.
Yeah, that's a big responsibility to try.
No, and I don't feel like I have the responsibility to change that for all the industry. Yeah. I can start by asking the producers who sell me their coffee. I ask them, even if it's 2 kilos. I am small, but wouldn't it be different if these large companies would ask, how much for your coffee? Like, everything would change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, I don't know if you attended the green defects workshop.
I didn't personally.
Okay. So the other thing,
The face you made.
no, I wasn't sure. No, I'm not judging. No, I am honestly asking because I didn't know if you already heard this before. But what I mentioned at the beginning, that now I understand why the coffee we've been drinking forever is not the best. It's actually like every producing country is left with the defects, with the leftovers from export. In many products, I think could be the same. You know, you export the best, the best bananas, the best shrimp, the best.
Yeah.
Here, it's like if you see like producto de exportación, it's like, wow, this is the best. I am going to buy this producto de exportación. I am so lucky that I get to buy something that would have left the country.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
And same with coffee. It's like we have a coffee culture, but we have a defects, or we call them segundas, like everything, like from the farm. In the farm, you go through processes to separate like the good beans from the bad ones, from the defective ones. That stays on the farm, and they sell it for a lower price, much lower price, to people who are then going to roast it or to sell it to someone else, whatever. But that is what is sold in supermarkets, for example. Then at the milling or exporting level, the same. Even when you have already like floated the defects and you have the good stuff, that good stuff also has defects. So there are these standards, you know, like specialty coffee is specialty coffee because it's above 80 points, but also because it has less than X number of defects. And that is written in contracts. So as exporters, you have to meet these standards to say you are exporting specialty coffee. So you have to clean the coffee and then sell these segundas locally. And that is basically what we drink.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I didn't know that at all. That's wild.
It's like, I don't think one asks these questions. I didn't think about it until I got to work processing coffee and separating defects by hand with equipment. But then I also started wondering why. You know, it's like when I buy coffee here for my coffee shop, it's like a luxury to clean that coffee. You know, it's like you would, like, if you remove the defects, you are losing a lot of coffee, like volume. If you don't remove them, you are not necessarily losing a lot of quality. You are not necessarily compromising quality. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending on what defects.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad, you know. It's not like, oh, I can't drink that coffee because you just like didn't clean the defects.
Right.
And the coffee just doesn't come out of the plant clean, doesn't come out of the plant with no defects. They are part of the coffee, you know. It's like someone has to do that job, and the producer doesn't get paid for defects, or it's not like we will pay the same, we coffee buyers in general. So yeah, I wonder why not? If you can pay the same for those defects, and if you can just keep them there and roast the coffee and it'll taste the same, why not? Just, are you sure that these defects affect cup quality?
Yeah.
So basically the workshop I was telling you about is let's try the defects like separately. So I am sorting out defects, like separating them, like black beans, sour beans, broca beans, and put them in the coffee. And you tell me how it tastes. Is it a like large difference? No difference at all? Some difference? So it's kind of
an experiment,
trying to prove an experiment to see like where this goes.
How's that been working out? Have people seen big differences with the actual cup and the quality, if it has a difference or not?
Some of them, yes. I don't think we've had like enough people doing it. We do it in triangles. So it's like 2 base coffees and 1 with defect. So you can, to see if you can find the difference. So I'm trying to do it with more people to have like a statistically like valid data.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that not everyone can tell the difference. It's not so obvious.
Yeah.
And it varies, of course, defect from defect. You know, it's not the same for black beans, like it is for like broken, chipped. They are hard to recognize.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time people usually get trained to understand what defects taste like versus like the general people who are drinking coffee don't really automatically know.
No, you get trained to taste defects that don't come from a physical defect. So you are trained to taste phenol or mold or ferment, but they are not necessarily related with these green defects. So if I taste phenol, it may come from a perfectly beautiful coffee with no defects. It's not related. They are not tied. So, but I don't think people are trained to taste defects because they never get them. They basically don't receive them. They get perfectly clean coffee. And sometimes it's like, oh, they get defect and it's like, oh, my coffee. Yeah.
So what I'm curious is, with you having such a broad and vast connection with the quality aspect and being in part of a producing country, how do you see how the women are treated and like how much they're integrated into the industry, whether it's a positive way or something that like is a continuous struggle happening?
Oof. Hot topic.
It's a loaded question I just gave you.
I mean, I guess we all know how like the world works for women in general. It's not like coffee is the exception. I don't think the struggle is different from other businesses. I guess, I don't know, if you're a woman in technology, I don't think that's going to be like super fun either. Of course, there are environments where I feel you don't feel the difference or you feel comfortable, maybe in more like modern and, it's like if you're in a barista championship, all good. In Latin America, we have a very sexist culture. It's It's like if you are a woman and you succeed in something, it must be because you did something with someone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, really? Are you really that smart? Or you're just pretty? Because I see you're pretty, it's like, when I got a job that was like a job that was high responsibility, like I won't say like high level, but yeah, I did have like a team and responsibilities. And in my first day, my supervisor, or one of the ones above me, he asked me, like, how are you going to do this? How are you planning to do this job being a woman? That was his question on my first day. It's like, it's coffee. It's like, it's a men's world. All producers, like 95% of producers, or at least people who you are going to negotiate with, are going to be men.
Yeah.
Everyone in your team are men. So how are you planning to do the job being a woman? Like, what do you mean? It's like, can you repeat the question? I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, insisting. And all I could say was like, I have been a woman all my life. I was born like this, and everything I do is as a woman. I don't know how to do things differently.
Yeah.
I got here being a woman. I went to school being a woman. I played sports being a woman.
Right.
I went to college. It's like such an absurd question.
Right.
It's like, but also it's a great reflection of culture or how they see you. It's like, somehow it's like, how are you with this great, I don't know, almost as if it was like a disability, it's like, how are you planning to deal with this?
Right.
Like, how are you planning to climb those stairs in that wheelchair? It felt something like that.
Right.
Like, I will figure, don't worry. It's like, I will be fine. I am fine being a woman, and I've been fine all my life.
Yeah.
So it is, and I also faced a lot of, it's like, it's like the same comments, the same situations you live everywhere, it's like in college, in school, in a party, you live in the coffee business. And I appreciate that there is a lot of conversation around it. It's like, let's appreciate women's work.
Right.
But also, I think let's just trust. We are people, and let's just trust that we are capable of doing anything, basically the same stuff, maybe better. I don't know. It's like that, it's like, oh, I also don't like when they are like, I don't know. It was, recently, March 8th. I hate that day, seeing from the confusion of some people of, oh, let's celebrate these beautiful beings. Let's get them flowers and chocolates because they are magical and they are.
Are we talking about International Women's Day?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's celebrate these wonderful magical beings. And then it's also that it's a lot of people talking about the hard work of women. It's like, yeah, they are so hardworking. And it's like, we have to be hardworking because it's the only way. If you're not hardworking, you don't get anywhere because it's not easy. If you relax, you stay where you are. And I think I kind of felt that way since I started in coffee. As I told you, I felt like I was starting late. and I had kids. And so it's like also being a mom, it's like sort of a disadvantage. It's like you don't have all the time in the world to learn everything, to attend courses, to travel, it's like you have your limitations. So you have to distribute your day and your life in general. But it doesn't get easy. It's like no one thinks that, oh, maybe these people who have kids are struggling with these things. It's like, should we make things, I don't know, remote, or let's think of other ways of advancing in careers. And I have felt that I have sort of had to hide that part of my life. Not hiding, truly hiding.
Right.
But it's like you are expected to pretend they don't exist. You are okay. You are a great professional as long as you don't act like a mom. It's great that you have kids. It's great. You're a working mom. Oh, great. Let's celebrate you. And then you have to be here on time. You have to be here every day. You have to stay working late. You have to be here on Saturdays. It's in general. I'm not talking from a specific company, but in general, you are expected to be everywhere at the same time, and it's like,
Yeah.
So as long as you pretend you are a man, you will be fine.
Yeah, that sentence, I think, really says a lot without even needing to explain it.
I remember one time we were working in Galapagos for a long. We went there for like 3 weeks or more than 3 weeks, and I was like, "Oh, I want to go home." And the man that was with me was like, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, my kids." And I was like, "But who are your kids with now?" And he was like, "With their mom." I was like, "Mine are not."
Yeah.
Mine were spread in different houses, grandpa, aunt, dad, like moving around. And he was like, "Yeah, you're right." Like, they are fine. They are with their mom.
I think a lot of people.
I don't want to get you depressed.
No. You're talking about real things right now. I'm just listening to it with full attention because this is just stuff that is really important that people need to understand and be empathetic about. Like being a woman, yes, there's certain expectations, but being a mom, a lot of people forget how much mom tend to be very hardworking and they want to prioritize their family, but living in a society where they have to choose is really difficult. And you're just vocalizing that.
It's like it's like in both ways you need to pretend you're not the other one. When you're at home, you need to pretend you're not a professional. It's like you have to be
it goes back and forth.
Devoted. So it's like double personality. And that's another thing. I hate that. It's like I want to be able to be the same person and to say, hey, I won't make it because my kid is, I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Is hungry and I need to feed them. And I will be 20 minutes late because I have to make breakfast.
Right.
But somehow it's like in the working world, it's, oh no, breakfast. How come? What, can they do breakfast for themselves? It's like, can they make it? What are they?
I think I can relate to this a lot because my mom was a single parent raising 3 daughters. So I watched my mom have to constantly go back and forth with struggling with the upper management of the places she worked in and then maintaining a healthy and close relationship with all 3 of us. And she has 3 very different daughters. So it was a struggle for her. And then I also grew up around my grandparents. So we kind of always had to move and like be around different people just for my mom to support us. And a lot of the time we were kids, we didn't appreciate a lot of the things that she was doing. But I think even like from that perspective, a lot of people don't appreciate moms for what they have to do just to provide for their family and then act like they're okay, like mental health and all these things. So yeah, it's just difficult. Like I can only imagine, really. So going from that topic, is there a specific topic in the industry or like a specific subject that you care about the most that's continuing a lot of your storyline here?
I mean, I don't know if it sounds unrelated, but somehow, I guess I see the importance to acknowledge the needs and the realities of the different people we may interact with across this like very long value chain, you know? I feel like sometimes there's this industry model that was designed by a specific group of people, and that assumes that everyone has the same goals, the same needs, the same, and has to follow the same path somehow. But we don't stop and actually talk and get to know these other people, because we are basically a chain of people who interacts. Coffee is not there just floating in the air. What are their needs? What are the producers' needs? What are the quality people needs? It's like, it's sort of like, let's not think that the only need that counts is the consumer need.
Right.
Of having the best cup of coffee in their morning cup. So there are many, many needs that have to be met. And if they are not met in the way, I don't see the point of doing it. Like, I don't think it's worth it doing anything, like whatever it takes to bring the best coffee anywhere. I think all the industry was built, like the specialty coffee was built on this concept of quality. And people go crazy about great coffees, it's like, and every time it's harder to meet these high quality standards.
Yeah.
When I started in coffee, an 85 was considered a great coffee. And I am sure 10 years before, an 82 was considered a great coffee. Now it's like, 87.
Yeah.
What? Do you know what it takes? And not only that, but what does it take to have an 87 on your table? And what does it take to have an 85? Right. And an 82? The effort is not too different. And I think people should be like free to decide what they want to produce, what they want to sell, what they want to buy, and that we should respect all the range. It's like, sometimes I feel like it's below 86. It's not great coffee, It's like, and
yeah. Because
we are focusing only on quality, on flavor, on these crazy flavor notes. Yes, it's fun. I enjoy having a great coffee. My partner and I always say we are spoiled because we get to cup the best coffees of Ecuador. Sometimes like, I expected more. And then we are like, let's not be those. Spoiled. Yep. It's a great coffee. Like, shut up. But at the same time, it's like, if we focus on other things, on what are these people going through to produce that coffee, or to get it to your country, or to roast it, just like, let's relax a bit. It's not that bad if it's not the best coffee in the world. If you're not having a great time, everyone, is it worth it? I mean, if not, everyone is not enjoying like what they are doing.
Right.
When every time you go to a coffee event, that is usually around quality, it's like around tasting great coffees. That's what I mean by saying quality.
Yeah.
Like a championship, a tasting, a cupping, whatever. It's around the flavor, it's around what it's on the table. And everyone is having a great time. And someone once told me like all that is happening thanks to someone who is not having a great time at the moment, like based on someone's effort, and someone is being poorly paid, and someone is struggling with what they are going to eat the next day, or how they are going to sell, or it's like so. Yeah, I don't know if I'm like this is too disconnected, but
no,
I think it's related to the needs. What are like the needs of everyone?
Yeah, no, I think you made a really good point that people were scrutinizing other people's work and then asking for more and not being satisfied. And then we're overcomplicating the actual product and what it's supposed to be giving you.
Right. Yeah, thank you. That's right. It's like always asking for more information. It's like, give me all the transparency, all the traceability, so not only you have to produce great coffee, but you have to produce great photos and great stories and great texts and great captions, and everything has to be, because I need to provide this buyer with information. They want to know about me, my family, my farm, my dog, they don't want to know about my needs, my wants and needs, my goals. They just want to have like all the information to sell the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then you never hear back from them. It's like, I would say, like, would you take the time to write, like, what do you like to do on your like spare time?
Yeah.
Tell the producer about your dog. Tell the producer about your family. What if the producers started asking every roaster, like, tell me how you roasted the coffee. Tell me about your roast profile. Tell me, did you clean the roaster? How often do you clean the roaster? What's your practice? What time do you get up in the morning? It would sound weird, It was like no one would think that is normal to be like scrutinizing the other side.
Yeah. Then
why is it so normal to scrutinize?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because
after when people go to Origin and like get involved in processing, in like, oh yeah, I'm going to tell them how I want them to process my coffee. Okay, can
serious?
they tell you how they want to roast it?
Oh my God, I didn't know that. What?
There are a lot of people that say, like, I want this coffee, like, especially for me, for whatever. And they go there and they ask for specific things.
God, that defeats the point of being there.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Oh my God. That just blows my mind. It's like if you go into a kitchen and you tell the chef how to cook his food.
That's what happens. And people see it as normal. Because somehow people feel entitled to tell others what to do.
It's because of what we built now.
From a different background, from a different culture, from a different color. It's like, I know best.
So during all of this, you've seen a lot of this happen. You obviously have a lot of information about a lot of different things. Do you have like a saying that you go by or like a mantra that helps you like when you feel like just being like, I need to step away or I can't do this anymore? Like, is there
No,
something?
if I tell you my saying, you will have to.
No, go ahead and say it. That's the whole point of this.
No. Just kidding. Just like I will curse about it. No, I don't know if I can like summarize because it's a lot. I know it's a lot. Or I feel like I've said a lot of different things.
No, I mean, like, I want to hear. Genuinely. I'm curious. No, I'm not going to judge you.
No. It's just, no. I'm seriously not. I think I actually don't blame like anyone. I don't think that people is like, oh, these guys or the roasters or baristas or importers or export. It's the system. So if we don't talk about these things, people will think it's normal. When I told you that we were meant to produce coffee and export coffee, so it's funny. I see all these conversations around like world championships and the role of like, what is it like for Latinos, for example, or from people from producing countries from different regions of the world. Like, it's of course not so accessible for us as it is for people from Europe, from the States. And people get angry, it's like, yeah, it's not fair because it's in English, because it usually happens in these parts of the world. It's they have access to equipment, to training, they have more resources. All this is true. But I think that it is because at the moment, these things were designed, like quality contests or championships or training opportunities, certifications, like all these opportunities to grow or to build a career were designed when producing countries were meant to produce coffee, period. They were not designed to include them. It's like, because that was the way the world worked at the moment. Mm-hmm. So if they were like, well, it's in English, of course, because you speak English, like everyone in the room spoke English. They were building this. Okay, they looked the same. They had the same realities. Oh, we have access to equipment. Yeah, you have an espresso machine? You do? Yeah, we all have it. Okay. And then they call them World Barista Championship or World whatever. And it turns out that we want to be part of the world. Yeah. And we struggle because we don't have access to the same things. Now that it's like we want to play this game with these big guys, but we're like the small kids, something like that. So now we have to roast coffee, cup coffee, brew coffee that was not meant for us to roast, cup, or brew. We were meant just to produce, sort, put in bags, and ship. That was the normal thing to do. So I don't think that like the people who are involved in these initiatives today are responsible for the way it works. I think they are responsible for trying to change them. I don't think it's going to happen like
overnight.
Overnight, so fast. But I don't think it's also like, I think the best way is to build these bridges and say like, oh no, fuck them. They are like, so like, be the victims, it's like, yeah, it's so hard for me and I can't. that won't take you anywhere. It's more like, hey, this is happening. This is our reality. I don't think anyone has told you about it before. I don't think it's like you know it and you're overseeing it. You just don't know. So let me explain you. It's like, let me tell you what's going on here so we can together build something different. I don't think it's a matter of telling these people, hey, we want it to be different. Think, and come with a solution.
Figure it out.
It's the same. They can't come with a solution for a reality that is not theirs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Although many people think they can't. That many people solving these other people's problems without even asking them.
So I know that the only thing we actually haven't talked about is I know that you're a part of a nonprofit called the Chain Collaborative. So can you tell me more about what they do and how you're a part of it and more about that?
Yeah, it also actually connects with what I was saying. So the Chain Collaborative is a nonprofit that is focused on community-led development in the coffee industry, in the coffee sector. So what we do is we partner with local leaders from coffee growing regions in Latin America and East Africa. And we have this program that is the community-led development incubator. So it works like a project incubator. So the leaders represent their broader community, and they come up with a project they want to carry out. It doesn't have to be a coffee project. It doesn't have to meet any requirement. Community-led is that. It's like we believe that communities are totally capable of recognizing their own needs and building their projects around their goals, their vision, their no one knows better what they need than them.
Themselves, yeah.
So we basically have the program. The first 6 months of the program are a learning and design phase where we support them with training in project development. So we meet with them, and it's a cohort. So we meet with the whole group and talk about how to build your mission, your vision, how to design the project. And they will then go to their community and work with them and come up with ideas and design the project. So yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes to find funding for projects because it's many people fund projects to meet an agenda, like climate change or gender or water, so it's it may be that, but we don't know because we won't tell them what to do. So if their needs are related to coffee producing, they will build a project around that. At the moment, we are working with 6 groups from Latin America, and the projects vary a lot. We have a community that is building a hen house to start an egg selling business because they were focused on diversifying their income, for example. So it's a coffee community, but that's what they wanted to do. We have a community library. We have 3 of the groups are working in coffee, coffee processing or drying. They want to improve their quality. One of the groups is from Colombia. They are an Arhuaco community. It's an indigenous community, and their larger goal is to recover ancestral land that was taken from them years ago. So they are now recovering, reforesting, and they have coffee. So they want to start selling their own coffee.
Wow.
So they can keep buying lands and like recovering the ecosystems around coffee.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So like coffee is the means, but they have larger goals. So it's basically that, like we believe that no one has the right or the knowledge or the ability to tell anyone what to do. They know what to do. They probably don't know how and probably don't have the means to do it. Yeah. So we provide them with, we get funding. So each project, at the moment, we are working with a $15,000 amount. So they have this 15K to do whatever they want.
That's great, though.
Mm-hmm. So then they go into the implementation phase. They work in their communities, and then we have like a final like closure phase. It's the peer support where they report on their impact, what has changed in the community. And then they join this sort of alumni network where they can keep, the idea is for them to be able to carry out any project in the future. Like they learn how to do it. Mm-hmm. That is TCC.
That's great. Wow. That's amazing. That's doing a lot of great things.
I love it. I love working with them. I started last year as a fellow. They have a fellowship program. And then I stayed.
Do you have a vision of where you want like your coffee shop to go? Or do you have any personal projects that you're wanting to work on in the industry in the future that you want to bring out?
I think I would like to focus on training and like creating sort of learning opportunities. I am not sure exactly how they can look like. Like it's a work in progress. We have workshops, classes, courses, events. We're trying to like give shape to this space where people, like anyone, feels comfortable and like, yeah. And I'm not necessarily talking about a physical space. We have a physical space, but sort of create a platform for people to learn about coffee from different perspectives. Yes, learn about quality if you want to learn about quality, learn about like brewing coffee, but also like putting all these little, I don't know, extras to hopefully in 10, 20, 30 years have a generation that sees things differently than how we were taught.
Yeah. Do you have a specific person or scenario that inspired you, where it stuck with you through your whole coffee journey?
I don't think so. I think it's been very dynamic. I don't want to sound like a bitter person, but it's like people that do things the wrong way inspire me
to do it the right way.
Yeah, it's like thank you for being there and thank you for saying this. So it's like now I have an idea. You gave me a great idea of how to do things. Yeah, something like that.
We just talked about so many different things and you had so many good points to say. I feel like I learned a lot during this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the space. Yeah, I feel like I've talked.
No, I loved everything you had to say. I think it was all very valid and very important. And I definitely learned new things. And I think that's what matters to me the most, is that I'm leaving this with a lot more information to look at what I do every day differently and to have a different approach. But I just really do appreciate you being open and talking and coming on the podcast. Like, what brought you to the podcast? What made you want to be a part of it? Because I was curious on that.
I don't know. I like you. I thought this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm glad. That makes me happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
is there anything else you'd like to say to close off?
No, actually, thank you. Thank you for like doing this also. It's like I appreciate you having this space and these initiatives to just talk.
Yeah.
Like
it's important. It's important for like, I think you said something really great about taking away the fact that, yeah, we work in coffee. There's a lot of that chain reaction of being the consumer and the buyer. But like, we also forget that we're all people. Like, we should get to know each other to an extent if we're going to all work together and not make it transactional.
Yeah, definitely. I find hard to consider like these coffee friends. Yeah, we can be coffee friends, but I want to know like
Same.
What music do you like? Like what do you want to eat?
What's your favorite food? What do you like to do?
Yeah,
Hobbies.
What show are you watching? Yeah, it's like we are normal people. Let's try to be normal.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate you just telling me a lot, especially because I think the older that I'm getting to, the relationship I have with my mom, a lot of what you were highlighting as a mom and being in the industry, like, I'm glad that you said your experience and your voice within that, because I know that there's a lot of working moms in the industry as a whole. So
are they? We don't know because we are all hidden.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, we should make a club or something.
Make a Facebook group.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have Facebook because we are moms.
Yes.
A WhatsApp group.
Oh, my mom definitely has WhatsApp. Well, yeah, I really appreciate you coming on here and talking to me and being a part of this. I'm really glad that I got the chance to talk to you and get to know you and more about your story. So thank you.
Thank you. It was great. Sometimes not. Sometime we get to do it the other way. You can tell me more about you.
Oh yeah, anytime. I'm not a stranger. I love talking to people.
I will share.
Okay. Well,
okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know it's been like over an hour now, so.
No worries. It was great.
I hope you have a great rest of your day. I don't know what time it is over there.
Same, 6:30.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're an hour behind.
Okay. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
I feel like I have to sit with this one. They're progressively getting a lot more dramatically impactful to me, these conversations I have with these women. Wow. She really reminded me of my mom in such a heartwarming and bittersweet way. She really highlighted so many good points too. She definitely seems like she has so much more information that she could have indulged us on. But I think overall the biggest thing was what the topic was specifically about. I think that she was waiting for this. I didn't even need to really ask her anything, which I love. I love the fact that people can come on here and can just really vent, you know? Because that's what this felt like to me. It was like, finally, I have all these things. I have all these thoughts. Somebody really cares and wants to know. And we need to talk about the system. Gender is a part of this. But the system needs to be corrected and brought to awareness and talked about. Because in the end, coffee is coffee. What about the people? What about what we're doing it for? Who it's affecting it? It's not supposed to be just about who creates the best cup at a 90 score level with limited quality defects. When it's like, she just said how the producing countries get the scraps. And it's like, and then Alexandra, the last episode, was talking about how a lot of these producers don't even get to try their coffee. And then it's wild. Like, I really was taken aback by certain things that she was saying. Amazing people, though. She's just an amazing woman. She is resilient. Because she had to be, like she said, you know, like, women have to always step up and be nonchalant about their survival instincts versus if we don't get anywhere. Her interaction in, she said, the Galapagos Islands with that one producer. Wow. That one hit me, talking about, I love that she put him in his place. I love it. I love the fact that she has such a feistiness that's so nonchalant about her. I'm excited for her nonprofit that she collaborates with as well, for the Chain Collaborative, doing amazing things for different communities all across Latin America. And I love the fact that we had an opportunity for her to bring that on here. So what can we learn from this episode, right? What have we learned? She said a lot. She said really good comments. She said a lot of good stories to bring it all together. And as much as we keep debating back and forth, what is the takeaway from this episode? And a lot of it comes down to what mothers have to be put through in the standard of living in corporate business, even on all cultural standpoints, because she's from Ecuador. And then also the systemic problem that producers have to deal with coffee roasters and coffee buyers, along with that disconnect. She kept bringing that up as well. So what she's deciding to do to change things little by little for her business and for her work is connecting with the producers on a personal level, understanding their livelihood and what they have to need for financial stability, and asking them to help set a price. That gives so much more freedom for the producers and what they're creating product-wise. And as the buyer, you have a good conscience as to working with these people and then continuing to build that relationship. She said that people don't tend to come back and talk to these producers. They're like, okay, cool. Thanks for your coffee. Bye. Next person, next farmer, next people. And it's like, oh, cool. I guess I'm just like constantly giving and pumping out this product. And then like I'm just, at the end of the day, the little man left. I'm very grateful for having worked with a great mentor who actually established this kind of fundamentals with coffee buying, coffee grading, coffee quality early on, because he had learned all of this from the ground up in origin. He created relationships with specific farmers, continuously worked with those farmers, has still maintained these relationships, being in the industry for at least over 10 years. That's what it is at the end of the day. I know that she, and I know a lot of different people in the industry hate saying like the main reason why I'm still in the coffee industry is the people. Oh, the people. But at the end of the day, sadly, that cliche is the truth. It's the relationships you make with these people, not even just for the fact that you get to work side by side, if possible, with the producers. When you know who they are as characters, as personalities, as actual people, rather than just farmers and producers, the disconnect you have in terms of that being a business-oriented conversation and that being a personable conversation are very different. I think the biggest thing that I could really that's going to stick with me after this episode is please interact with the farmers differently. Be aware of what you're doing. Be aware of when you're judging people. Be aware of when you're cupping. And don't be so stickler on these defects and what they create overall for the cup experience. And do what she's doing. Take the defects. Make a cup. Understand the differences. Does it really deteriorate the quality of the coffee? Or is it just the standard that anything that has any defect is no longer a good cup?